What is up, guys?
Hey, welcome to another episode of Too Real
with Mike and Jillian Rosado.
Jillian
We are here. Yo, shout out to our local Starbucks. It was pre-COVID it burnt down, right?
Yeah, pre-COVID.
So pre-COVID, the Starbucks around the corner from us burnt down, and we were like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Not that there's not one another 5 minutes away.
Right.
But it was like our local spot. Well, they just reopened this past week. We were in there this morning. It looks beautiful. Mm-hmm. And they added a drive-through. Holla for
because
$1.
We're slaves to convenience.
But like, I'm nervous for our budget now. Because once it closed, like we didn't go nearly as much as we used to. No. And now it's reopened. And you've been there how many times since it reopened?
Just 2 times.
Just 2 times?
Yeah.
And it just opened on Saturday?
Yeah.
So.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm nervous for our budget. But shout out to Starbucks. Thanks for bringing it back. You did a good job.
Yep.
I want to know what's going in next door.
I wouldn't mind I said scholarship. I wouldn't mind a sponsorship.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
I'll do a scholarship too. Whatever.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to just continue on this theme of vulnerability. Pretty soon we need to get a guest up in here or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't know why. I wanted to talk about the concept of being a perfectionist and perfectionism.
Shots fired. I feel that.
No, because you before we even started recording, we talked about that you've identified some areas of perfectionism that I have that I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Yeah. I don't know what the full definition of a perfectionist is, but I definitely have perfectionistic tendencies. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, they all spur out anxiety.
Yeah.
Perfectionism is a quality of people with anxiety that we learned from Steve Cuss, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, in our seminar with him, he was like, perfectionist in the corner, and would point at me, and I'm like, here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I do, perfectionist for sure. I don't know how deep you want me to go into it because I'm sure you've got a bunch of points.
Well, let me define what perfectionism is so that the listeners understand.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about. Perfectionism is it shows up in things like fear of failure, difficulty making decisions, an obsession with details, and also. And this is maybe where I'm the perfectionist, a tendency to procrastinate, right? Mm-hmm. So I know that's not the clearest definition of perfectionism, but those are the ways, those are the symptoms of perfectionism. So
for sure. I think we both land in different areas there.
Right.
So we could just jump into the points and we'll just throw ourselves under the bus wherever we see fit.
Right. But before doing that, in what areas, let's talk about the areas then. What areas would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
All of them?
No, but I mean areas in your life,
all of them.
Be specific,
all of them.
For me, my perfectionism shows up with media stuff, right? So I was bivocational when I started Fervent 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, when I was doing video editing, animation, design, those kind of things, I would labor over the details, and sometimes to the point where it would drive me insane. You know what I mean? And I would need a supervisor, someone to smack my hand and go, "It's done."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I will actually say, put myself on blast. Restarting this podcast over and over and over again is a result of my perfectionism because I was never happy on how it looked, never happy on how it sounded, and just always wanted to push it, always wanted to get better lighting, better this, better that. And
look at all this awareness you're coming into.
Bam.
Because like we said prior to coming into this episode, he's like, this is more of a you thing. And I'm like,
But you hit it right on the target that's the area where I am a perfectionist.
Yeah.
There are other areas I could care less, I could care less on how to load the dishwasher.
Oh, yeah. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to loading the dishwasher. The order that I get ready in the morning, which may lend itself to a little OCD. Who knows? I'm very particular about how I present myself, how I'm a mom, how I show up as a mom, the way my house looks. Event planning is a whole nother level of perfectionism because if one thing gets misconstrued of how I've asked for it to be done, in my eyes, the event is ruined. And it's something that nobody would notice.
Right.
I'm a perfectionist with my schedule. I'm a perfectionist with the order of my day. Yeah, there's just like everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So let's try to remedy it. But
what happens if it's working for me, you know?
Is it though? Is it though?
I mean, kind of.
No, it is not. You could have a standard. I think there's a difference between, here's your nugget. There's a difference between being a perfectionist and striving for a standard. Right? Because being a perfectionist is unattainable.
Yes.
Right? You'll never be perfect.
No.
So it's an unattainable goal.
Yeah.
When you're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
However, pursuing a standard of excellence is okay.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Perfectionism, impossible.
Yeah.
And so are you setting yourself up for failure already by being a perfectionist?
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think those two things, we confuse the two, but they're completely different.
Yeah, and I'm probably jumping ahead, but like you're never going to reach that perfection, so that you end up coming into these like short seasons in your life where you're just like, screw it, and you don't do anything. And then you'll have like a couple weeks and you're like, all right, I really need to get my life together
right.
and get back on my perfectionist kick. So there's like this ebb and flow of it. So I think perfectionists do realize they can't be perfect, and they have seasons where they give up and then they go to the opposite end, but then they get back on the perfectionist horse and try to keep going along. But yeah.
So let's talk about ways to combat perfectionism.
Okay.
And both you and I. The first thing is, I think, to challenge negative self-talk. Okay, so what we found is that perfectionists often have an inner critic that always says, you're not good enough.
Yes.
Right? And so what we need to do is practice noticing that, capturing that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having negative self-talk right now, and replace it with more of positive and realistic affirmations when you do have that inner critic. Do you struggle that way?
100%. My biggest, the biggest statement that my inner critic says is, you're not good enough. Everything that I strive to do is proving myself.
Right.
And that could come from a million different places, but at the end of the day, I'm just not, I see less value in myself than other people do. And I think that's a big part of it. So I'm trying to prove myself to everyone, anyone, and people I don't even know. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you why, but I'm going to give you some time to think about your why. Why do you do that? For me, I think it all, and I went through some counseling with this, but like I think my proving, and I'm speaking this out into the universe right now. I don't talk like that. I don't say the word universe, but I'm speaking it out and saying that, this book that I'm going to complete this year, finally, I talk about how confidence is getting to the place in your life where you have nothing to prove, nothing to lose, and nothing to hide. That proving ground will always rob you of your joy.
Yeah.
And so my whole entire life, I was always trying to prove the ghost of my biological father that I didn't need you.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem is, it's a ghost.
Yeah.
And so I'm always telling myself, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough.
Yeah.
I got to prove this. I got to prove that.
Yeah.
I created a false sense, an audience that's a critic, people that are waiting for me to fail.
Yeah.
And there's not, there might be some people waiting for me to fail, but it's not as large as it is in my head than it is in reality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's that proving will sabotage your joy. It'll sabotage your sanity. But for me, that's where it came from. That whole, you're not good enough, and proving came from, the wounds of my father.
Yeah.
Right? But where did yours come from, you think?
I think there's like multiple incidences in life that like I'm trying to like prove who I am. Like we've talked about this before. Like in my teenage years, I was a wild one. I was always looking for love in all the wrong places. I was finding trouble wherever I could. And still to this day, I'm trying to prove that I'm not that person anymore. And I mean, we're talking over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm still fighting this ghost. And so much so that like someone a year or so ago said to me, said when we were in a group, like, Jill's the responsible one. And I was like, what?
What?
I am? Like, it was, and like, I don't need to prove that I'm not this person anymore to anyone. All I just need to do is know that within myself that I'm not, and be okay with that.
Right.
But it just always creeps its head up. There was also, this is Stacy, my best friend, will laugh about this. We were in middle school. We were friends with this group of girls, and I wasn't heavy or anything like that. But there, two girls were like really tiny, and like most people would be like, Jill, you're tiny. But the one girl's mom said to me, like, you'll never be as skinny as they are. You're big boned.
Wow.
And that stuck still to this day. And like, I'll see them now and I'm tinier than they are. And I'm like, oh, really? Who's big bone now? And that's like, I that may sound awful, but like that stuck with me. So people's words really like, they had more of an effect on my value than I should have let them, just because I was young and I wasn't as confident and I didn't know who I was. And so like, it's something I still struggle with at 42 years old, but I think I have more tools and awareness now to like try to like speak over that. But yeah, like little things like that just stuck with me and probably did more damage than they should have.
Right. So we need to cut off like those external voices that we've turned into inner critics.
Yeah.
And again, practice challenging that negative self-talk, because that fuels our perfectionism. I think another way that we combat perfectionism is setting realistic goals. We both do this. We both suck at. We are dreamers, and so I would say I'm a dreamer, and you're just overzealous with your agenda sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like you're like, we need to get this done today. And I'm like, dude, not possible.
I mean, some days I do.
Some days you do, but you burn the candle at both ends to get it done, right? So to set that realistic goals, because we often put these high standards on ourselves, and not only on ourselves, on other people, which is unfair. And then we get frustrated with other people because they're not reaching those goals, but they're unrealistic goals. So I think setting realistic, achievable goals can break that cycle of perfectionism in you and I.
I would like to add to that, setting realistic goals and boundaries. Because with the perfectionists, I would say I see this in you a lot, because this is something that I've already started working on. Because you want to be a great pastor, you want to be a great friend, you want to be a great leader. Sometimes you don't set boundaries with people. And you'll allow people to derail your whole day on things that are not urgent and important.
You're right.
And it's something that I've been working on, and I've shared in previous podcasts. Like, even when I'm in the midst of my work day, like I put my phone on work mode. So I'm not getting like the fam group chat. I love the fam group chat, but like some days it's like 70 text messages deep and I'm like, yo, I got to get this stuff done. But I want to please them, and I want to be interactive and all that stuff. I want to be everything to everyone, and I can't. So realistic goals and boundaries, I think is really important.
I agree with you 100%. I think another way to combat perfectionism is to practice self-compassion, right? To learn to treat yourself with kindness and compassion, and to learn to be okay with things not going according to plan. Dun, dun, dun. Your face. To be okay with it.
I fail at that. I beat myself up and I talk down to myself all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Like, even, this is so stupid, but like, it was like the beginning. It may have been like the March 11th or something like that. And I'm like, I haven't put out any of my St. Patrick's Day stuff yet. I suck. I'm like the worst mom. The neighbors are probably looking at our house with our Valentine's Day wreath on the door. Like, look at these people. And I'm like, Jill, no one's paying attention.
No one's paying attention.
No one's paying attention to that.
Right.
Like, get over it.
Right.
And that's something so stupid.
Yeah.
But like, you see how it can go in a whole different direction.
Yeah, yeah. For me, that's where you and I differ. We're like, I'm just happy that the Christmas lights aren't up anymore. You know what I mean?
We do still have snowflakes on our living room wall, though. I looked at that last night. I go, we got to take snowflakes off the wall.
They don't look like, they look like more.
No, and Hunter made them, so I wanted to keep them up through winter. But now I'm like, okay, it's spring. We need to get the snowflakes off the wall.
We need to get them down.
You're blowing it, Jill.
But I think on top of practicing self-compassion, I think the next step to combat perfectionism is to embrace mistakes and failures. Instead of viewing those mistakes and failures as evidence of inadequacy or your value, try reframing them that, yo, these are opportunities to grow, to fail forward. We talked about this in previous episodes too, but to fail forward, I think the perfectionist has a really hard time dealing with the failures. And I know I do as an achiever. I have a hard time failing, but I'm like, nope. I need to reframe it. These are lessons learned that I'm carrying this wisdom forward so that I can be more successful. I want to fail my way into success.
Yeah. You know? People say fail first attempt in learning or failed attempt in learning. But I think that's a good way to look at it.
Right. and we've been killing this the last 2 weeks, but I think it's important too with perfectionism is to prioritize self-care.
Yeah.
Perfectionism can be exhausting and very stressful. So prioritizing self-care, like you talked about last episode, exercise, meditation, spending time doing things that reduce stress. Yeah.
A lot of times we talk about self-care in the terms of exercise, meditation. What about rest? Like giving yourself a break.
Right.
We had a busy week last week, and we were just coming off of the season we were in. We were just completely wiped out. And I looked at you and I said, when we get home, we were putting on sweatpants.
Yep.
We were ordering Chinese food, and we are not moving from the couch for the rest of the night, which you didn't hold up your end of the bargain because you and Hunter went and got ice cream.
That was stress eating. Refer to the last episode.
Yeah. But to recognize those moments, like, no, I just really, like, the best thing for me right now is to rest and actually be able to rest, because I've gotten better at it. But like on days off, I used to sit on the couch and for like 5 minutes and be like, nope, I need to do something. And it's like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
But that perfectionist in you will tell you don't need that. And you do.
Yeah. 2 more real quick, and then we'll close this up. So I think the next one to combat perfectionism is to learn to let it go. Right? So to practice acceptance and just let things go. I'll tell a quick story. Like my one time that I went to counseling, there was a counselor I was seeing in Manhattan. And he would do this thing that would piss me off.
I think you shared this
a couple
weeks ago. Yeah.
So just like this letting go thing. Like he would just sit there, and as I'm talking, he would just open up his palms would be facing up, and he would just open them up slowly. And that would annoy me the most, like the slowness of it. Like I'm not slow. Like I get what you're saying, but like just to learn to let it go. Why do you struggle with that as a perfectionist, letting things go?
Because I'm a people pleaser. Which
so then why do you
lends
people
itself?
please?
Because I think that pleasing people is a way to prove that I'm worthy, and it's not, and it just drives me insane. But like, there's been situations where I'm just like, part of me wants to just be like, I need to listen to everything this person's going to say, and whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, and I came to the conclusion, I just need to let it go.
Yeah.
I just need to.
Don't do it so slow. That's so triggering.
Let it go.
Just kidding. Yeah, so just to learn to let it go.
Sometimes it's the best thing you can do for yourself is just let it go.
It go.
Mel Robbins was recently talking about you don't need closure. Like when something happens, like you got it happened. That's the closure. You know what I mean? You don't need this grand closing thing. That person showed you who they are.
Yep.
And you need to just move on with it.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, for real. And then last one, I would say celebrate progress. That's probably the one I suck at the most.
Yeah.
To celebrate progress, and don't celebrate perfection, because then you're never going to celebrate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so to celebrate progress.
Yeah.
And that's hard because I am an achiever and I have big dreams. And I just didn't grow up celebrating inches. And I think happy people, I've watched and observed happy people, they celebrate inches.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to celebrate nothing.
Yeah.
Some people are really good at celebrating nothing.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a trophy. Like, I don't think I'll ever be that.
Yeah.
But to celebrate any little progress, I've watched happy, successful people do that over and over and over again, and I think it's essential and imperfect. So to celebrate that progress, even incremental, because you're at least moving towards the goal.
Yeah,
So.
we have our staff meetings every Monday morning, and some weeks we will be driving in, and I'll look at Mike and I'll be like, first of all, you're the leader of this organization, so whatever your attitude is going into the meeting, everyone feels that and follows that, and we start off each meeting with a celebration. And on those weeks I've said, I know that it might be really hard for you to find something that you want to celebrate right now, but again, you're the leader of this organization. Your mood leads the room. You need to start with this. You need to celebrate first to set the tone.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you've shared this before, not like faking it, but rehearsing who you want to be.
Yeah.
So when you're in those like moments where you feel like everything's failing around you, just rehearse being a person like, no, we're celebrating this.
Yeah.
Like this, even this small thing, like I woke up this morning, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like we're going to celebrate that because that sets the mode for the day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. a statement that I need to go back to. Is I used to say it a lot in the beginning of starting Fervent, where it's like, we're not faking it till we make it. We're rehearsing it until it's ours. And to go back to that, I think it will help me celebrate more and fight that perfectionism in me as well.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear some ways that you are a perfectionist. So let's throw up that on social media. Like, hey, how are you? What areas are you a perfectionist? And I would love to hear the stories of all of our listeners, and track with what they're struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You be too real, daggone it. I'm tired of being on the couch. You get on the couch.
You need to keep your butt on the couch, buddy. We're just learning and growing week by week, and you guys get a front row seat to all of that.
Yep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm going to wrap us up because I'm better at this. If you're watching us on YouTube, what up? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment on today's episode. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all the podcasts, give us a follow or subscribe, like this episode. Share it in your Instagram story with like a big takeaway, tag us in it. We've been getting those lately, and it just like, I'm like, oh, awesome. And then be sure, Instagram at Mike Rosato, at Jillian Rosato, TikTok at Mike Rosato, at Jillian.Rosato. Check us out, say what's up, shoot us a DM, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Too Real.
Peace.
Bye.